Gentlemen, my name is Devaney Gale. Welcome to the Mass PMO training webinar. You are about to watch a short training video on what the Vendor Toolbox and Readiness Assessment training module contains, how it can help vendors submit an offer through eOffer, and common errors one might encounter and how to fix them. Let me introduce our presenter, Gabriel Galvez, who will be providing you great tips and techniques on how to successfully complete this training module. Welcome, Gabe.
Hi, Devaney. It's great to be here this morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Gabriel Galvez, and I work for the MAS PMO. This brief presentation is directed towards prospective offers who are looking to be a part of GSA Schedules program. It provides a quick overview of what the Vendor Toolbox training module contains. This presentation is not a substitute for the training module. In this presentation, we will cover the purpose of the Vendor Toolbox, why this module exists and what it contains. Next, we will cover the topic of how the Vendor Toolbox can help vendors. This section will outline the ways in which the Vendor Toolbox can help contractors and prospective vendors. The last section we'll cover is basic troubleshooting with the Vendor Toolbox. The Vendor Toolbox has three main purposes. First, it helps vendors locate the necessary resources for getting on schedules, including links to the Small Business Administration, eLibrary, and beta.sam.gov, among other sites. Next, the Vendor Toolbox also helps prospective vendors with the three-step process to decide if they want to become a part of the Schedules program. Each step, research, analyze, and decide, walks the vendor through a quick overview of GSA's MAS program and helps them decide if now is the right time to submit an offer. Last, the Vendor Toolbox helps prospective vendors by housing the Readiness Assessment, which is a necessary part of the offer process. The Readiness Assessment housed in the Vendor Toolbox is an interactive, online version of the downloadable Readiness Assessment found on the Vendor Toolbox site. The Vendor Toolbox helps vendors mainly by allowing them to obtain the Readiness Assessment. As discussed in the previous slide, the Readiness Assessment can be accessed at the end of the training module once all other sections have been completed. Once the Readiness Assessment has been completed, the Vendor Education Center will generate a copy of the Readiness Assessment with all of the answers created by the vendor. When vendors go to submit their offers in eOffer, the system will check to see if the Readiness Assessment has been completed in the Vendor Education Center. There are three main tips that we can offer to all prospective vendors. First, ensure that all of your research is done before beginning the Readiness Assessment. The Readiness Assessment has a timeout window of 2 hours, so be sure to complete the entire session before the 2-hour window closes. Next, we strongly recommend that you download a copy of the Readiness Assessment located underneath the Training Materials tab on the Vendor Education Center. Having a list of all of the questions that the Readiness Assessment will ask will allow you and other vendors to fill out the assessment without a hitch. Last, don't forget to locate your contracting officer or administrative contracting officer and ask them any questions you might have about the system. There are a handful of common errors that users may encounter while using the Vendor Toolbox. These errors may include system timeout, editing certificates, and communication with eOffer. The Readiness Assessment has a timeout limit of 2 hours. This time limit was put in place to give vendors the proper amount of time to complete the research during the assessment. To prevent the system from timing out, complete the assessment within the 2-hour window. The best way to do this is to complete the Readiness Assessment before starting the online version. To do this, log onto your account with the Vendor Education Center and click on the Training Materials tab, highlighted here in blue. After that, you may download a copy of the Readiness Assessment and answer each question on the Word or PDF files before completing them on the online Readiness Assessment. If for any reason you need to edit your certificate, you may do so at the Profile tab on the Vendor Education Center. If the firm name or DUNS number was incorrectly typed during registration, you may edit any of that information here. If a certificate is generated with improper information, the user may edit their information on the Profile tab, and the system will automatically generate a new certificate with all the proper information on it. Vendors may encounter an error with eOffer when submitting their offer. Users will encounter an error and will not be able to submit their offers if the DUNS number on eOffer does not match the DUNS number found on the Vendor Education Center. To prevent this from happening, ensure that the DUNS number is entered properly into both sites. If a user needs to update their DUNS number or any part of their information on the Vendor Education Center, they may do so by editing information in the Profile tab. We'd like to thank you all for your time. If you have any other questions regarding the Vendor Toolbox or the Readiness Assessment, please forward them to vendortoolbox@gsa.gov. Thank you.